Good morning. Today we are looking at the question, what is the soul? What is the soul? I am only speaking from my experience, and I'll share with you what I've understood, what I've realized. The Buddhist view, let's deal with that first, is that there is no soul. Now, what they mean by that is, they're not saying that you don't experience having a soul, or that there isn't a soul. They say that there's not a substantially existing, independent soul. But then they would also say there is not a substantially existing, independent, inherently existing Buddha either. So they're making the point about what actually is real, and ultimately so. And from their point of view, the soul is not. But in conventional reality, where we experience ourselves as bodies, etc., then the soul. Let's look at it. What I have seen, and what is confirmed by various scriptures, is that we have 5 bodies, and at the core of the fifth body is the Atman, which is like a sun. And this sun shines through the 5 other bodies. The densest body that we have is the physical body, and that is sustained by food. This food body, it's physical, it appears as physical. But then we also have other bodies. You may have experienced waking up in the night and not being able to move, body paralysis, sleep paralysis. And the next stage beyond sleep paralysis is that you can see your body. You're above your body and you can see it. You can't move it. You can't move it in sleep paralysis because you're not in it. You're out of it, looking, and you can actually look back at it. And if you can, in that point, remain calm, because it's very scary, it's unusual to see your body, so the first reaction is one of fear, but you can look back at it, and then you can move off in the body that you are in, the form that you're now in. Now, that body doesn't have any shape. It can assume any shape, but it's basically a light mass. And you can lift up slowly and go through a window, recognize that you're free, and then just shoot off at top speed into the starry skies, do the loops, come back, whatever. So that is another body that we have. And then we have a further body, which we could call a mental body. When I've been doing Vipassana meditation retreats, which is something that I will talk about at some point, after doing several of them, I had an experience where I saw that all of my memories, all of my experience in this life was stored. All of my experience in recent lives, 5 or 6 recent lives, was also stored, but not fully resolved. So it was bleeding into this lifetime. And then I saw innumerable lifetimes which were all completely resolved. And they were resolved in the most astonishing way. It wasn't just like the story made sense. It was like every aspect dependently connected to every other aspect, making sense multidimensionally. And what was astonishing is the fact that all my memories are carried in the mental body. All of them. Nothing is lost, nothing is forgotten. So when people have dementia, or people have Alzheimer or some other condition that they forget even their partner, that the good news about that is that that forgetting isn't forever. In a different configuration, perhaps after death, those memories are still there, completely intact. Nothing is lost. And so the memory is all carried in the mental body. And one view I can recognize is the idea that, take for example, you have milk. The milk gets processed and becomes yogurt. The yogurt gets churned and becomes butter. The butter gets left and becomes cheese. There isn't a constant thing. It's an evolving thing. And that's how we appear in that level. So then there is another body, which is the light body. Now the light body is the body that, for example, when you come into it, when you reconfigure your attention into this body, that's when you experience chakras. And the chakras even appear like, when they say 1,000 petals, literally there are 1,000 petals in the subtle body, and these centers here. It's astonishing. So you have a subtle body, and that is also blended and shined through from the Atman. And then also you have a bliss body. Now the bliss body, the subtle body has some form. The mental body takes any form. And the bliss body, when you come into the bliss body, you might sit down in the physical body, by concentrating and focusing, come into your subtle body, and then enter into the bliss body, which is formless. It doesn't have a shape. It's boundless freedom. It's like the sky. So then let's look at the Atman, the sun. It's very hard to look at it. You can only be it. And usually you're being it with the other sheaths or with the other bodies somehow in activation. But to be just it, that body appears in the shape of a sphere. And only 2 times have I experienced that. And in that experience, there's a sphere at the center of which I am. The second time I experienced it, which is more recently, strangely, it existed in its own world. That sphere was it was in its own dimension. I haven't realized what that is, but it's in its own dimension. So the Atman can travel. In my life, I've experienced it leaving my body. And dependent on which chakra it leaves from determines what kind of result follows. On one occasion, it shot out through my crown chakra. When you sometimes see these pictures in the Hare Krishna books of an old yogi sitting there with this happening. Well, that happened to me. And then another time, it left through the center here, center in the subtle body, the Ajna center. And that brought me, that was a psychedelic experience, and that brought me into this opened up, and I travelled through it and arrived in another body, in another dimension, in another time. So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in their Muslim scriptures, when he died, his spirit left through his genitals, and he left with a genital erection. So it can come out while you're still alive, it can move around, but normally it stays in the heart. So where have we got to? What is the soul? So the soul is the Atman. And the Atman shines through these different bodies, some of which have a short-term existence. Like the physical body, it only lasts so long. But the subtle body, that lasts longer. The mental body lasts a very long time. The bliss body is one with all that is. Timelessly. The Atman is the core, or the soul, if you like, is the core that it's the miracle. It's a divine miracle that fires the miracle of breath. When you sit as the soul, there is no thinking there. There are no states of consciousness there. There is no past there. There is no future there. There is no subject-object there. No drama there. No karma there. When a while back I met in India a very wonderful sadhu, holy man, called Mira Babagiri, and we had a very nice connection. And then one day on a full moon, I was walking down Tottenham Court Road in London, and there is the Baba walking towards me with his big turban, his trishul, pulling a trolley and a camel hair coat and sandals. And I speak with him. "Oh, Baba, you must come and stay." He said, "Oh, good, I was looking for you." And so he came and stayed with us for a year. And I served him, and I loved him very much. And we had a very strong connection, and he was very extraordinary man. He said, "Oh, we've been together for 3,000 years," he said. And I felt like that. I felt a strong connection with him. And I served him. And then he left this world. But because I had a connection with him of a very particular kind, I was able, over the period of time, the next few weeks after his departure, to follow his journey. The first thing that happened was, as he left his body, his subtle body was met by about 7 other Bubbas from another realm, and they came to him and they took him up. And then he came into a place where his guru was sitting, and his guru was sitting on a bed, and there was other disciples around the guru, and in front of the guru was a big disc. And suddenly I saw the Baba come streaming into the center of the disc, and he was full and proud and about 7 foot tall and magnificent in his greatness. And everybody was laughing, because then the guru, who had no shoes on, he just gently touched Baba, and Baba started to shrink. And it was shown to me that this was him being gracefully extracted from his egoic self. That that was how big he thought he was, but actually he wasn't that big at all, because he shrunk down to about the size of a molecule. He looked in the end like a cockroach, and everybody's laughing, not at him, but at the stupidity of the ego. So then, and this is the interesting part, in the end, or not before, the next stage of this was that all the light that he had gathered in his lifetime all came together into a sphere that he already was, his Atman, and compressed into the sphere, making it brighter and lighter and bigger and stronger, whatever. And what I was shown was that all the time that he'd spent in his mind dreaming unconsciously didn't really register now. The only thing that registered was the time he'd spent as presence, and he got to keep what he opened in presence in his lifetime. And it's interesting because this particular guru had a teaching where he would ask, people say you come with nothing and leave with nothing. That's not true. You may come with nothing, but you can leave with something. This guru would also ask, how do you save a moment? The answer was shown as by being fully present in it, because if you're fully present in it, that's eternalized, if you like, or you save it, you can reclaim it. And so I saw that at the end of the life, all the time he'd spent in presence, which for him was a lot, was all given to him back, and his Atman somehow miraculously, wonderfully was recharged. And then he got the choice what kind of body he wanted to take. He chose to have his original Baba form again, and so he shot off all charged up for a new life, not in the earth plane. He was going somewhere else. But the point being that although it's not substantially and ultimately real, the soul is the divine dynamic around which the 5 bodies have their existence for as long as they do. I don't know if I'm being very clear, or if you're getting it. So the soul is strange because it is a thing and yet it isn't. The Atman, the core of your being, where the divine principle of life is, that holds magically your other bodies and shines through your other bodies. But your fifth body, as the bliss body, is also one with all. So you have Atman and Paramatman. There is a glorious phenomena, if you like, about how the individual soul is linked to the oneness, to the oversoul, to the total beingness of life, pure awareness. So how you perceive the soul is given by who your being that it is. A lot of people see the soul as the light body. You know, oh, his soul left his body. And that's fine. You know, I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just expressing what has been seen for me. So it's not actually a particularly important question, in the sense that you are who you are. Can you be present to that? Because when I am who I am, all questions have gone. We could say that the source of the observer is the Atman. The final point of view, the place from which the observer looks, is the Atman. But then, when the observer melts into the fifth body, the boundless bliss body, then there's not even a sense of I anymore. It's just amness. It's not important to have or to try and develop astral body experiences. If they come, they come. It's not important to remember your past lives. If you do, you do. The remembrance of past lives is triggered automatically when a certain pitch of concentration is reached. The Buddha, when he got enlightened, it is said that as he approached that place, he had a full memory of everything, all of his lifetimes, in detail. And so it's something that happens as you pass through your mental body and see it as it is. My God, it's all there. When I had that experience, it was like I saw it, and I saw the two different types. I saw the lifetimes that were still influencing this one, and the lifetimes that were in the past, present past, past. I saw them, but I had not in any detail. I just saw an infinity of them, and I saw that they were all linked together, and that everybody who'd been in all of them was all linked together, and that everything was dependent on everything else. But then the shocking thing that I saw is that nothing substantial had ever happened in 1 billion lifetimes. And that was hard to take. That was hard. You know, you want something. No, it was nothing substantial had ever happened. So it's not important. What's important is that we are awake, fully awake to what is. Seeking with the intellect, seeking ideas and concepts and visions is minor mystery. It's all will only lead you to the minor mysteries. The great mystery is, what is awakeness? What is love? What is love? Is there anything more important to find out than that? Could there be a greater mystery than that? You might say that the soul is a battery whose power is love, that empowers and shines through all the other bodies that I have. And without that, none of those bodies function. With that, they all can function. But they kind of merge with each other as well. They're not necessarily completely defined. So another way of looking at the soul is as a feeling, as the feeling of the totality of everything that's happened through all your lives. But even that feeling actually is coming from one of your bodies rather than from the soul itself. The Atman itself is just pure love, pure miracle essence. Some things you can't look at. You can only be them. And by being them, you wake up to them. If you apply yourself earnestly, you will realize the truth. Because I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but I did apply myself on a daily basis earnestly. And I obviously still do. And that attracts grace. And ultimately it's grace that allows realization to blossom. It's given. It's all given. We don't generate anything. We are the receivers of states of consciousness. We are receivers of thoughts. We are the receivers of feelings and emotions. We are the receivers of drama. But we are untouched by it.